What's up, you beautiful bastards? This video concludes the story of Soul Reaver 2 and is the last one in this video series. So in case you haven't seen the other ones, click the upper right link. After the vanquishing of Giannis Ordran by his former self, Raziel, full of rage, strolls down the mountains in the quest of punishing the Seraphim for their misdeeds.
We've been expecting you, little Raziel.
So, these demonic pests were not merely the product of Nosgoth's corrupted future.
For here they were, hurtling back over 5 centuries to pursue me. These creatures, I suspected,
were minions of the unseen forces that had hoped to control me. This was the tangible expression of their displeasure. These demons were unleashed as the penalty for my disobedience.
Along the way we meet a handful of demons which try to undermine our efforts, yet with no real success. It is of course a little bit annoying that they put up the portals which block our way, but hey, if you don't lock on them, those encounters should be a piece of cake. Not to mention that most of the time brave Seraphim soldiers tend to jump right into the bloodbath, so we can capitalize on their selfless sacrifice by munching on their yummy souls.
Never should have come here!
Yet one needs to stay on distance, because obviously a husk of human body looks more dangerous than 3 Diablos strolling about, so every living hostile soul would choose Raziel as their main target. Gradually more and more powerful demons appear to measure our strength, yet those are the same good old dumb demons, maybe a bit bulkier, so they wouldn't pose any challenge. We go down, utilize the musketeer tactic I mentioned in one of the previous videos, right up a link. See a Lord of the Ring reference from one of the monsters.
You shall not pass.
And jump right into the cave of the Elder God. I was prepared for yet another backtracking-filled mind and body gymnastics with the utilization of different blades and all of that mambo-jumbo that we saw in the Giannis' retreat, yet the almighty devs spared my cognitive center and allowed me to navigate through the dungeon with almost no charades. Thank you. Massively avoiding any kind of confrontation, we finally get to Mr. Tentacle and drop a good old fuck you bomb on the slimy old ass.
You have failed me, Raziel.
I wonder, Old One, did you truly resurrect me, or were you simply there when I awakened from my torment in the abyss? I suspect you found me merely convenient, dropped in your lair by Kain, indestructible for some reason, a durable and gullible tool for you to manipulate. This one thing I readily admit. I have been used by others time and again, but always I seem to stray from their path. What is it about me, demon, that makes me such an unreliable instrument? Why do I survive one trial after another, on and on, in an endless succession of humiliating deaths and resurrections? It seems there is much more to my destiny and my history than I know. Perhaps more than you know as well.
The Elder God is not that happy about our arrival, yet he doesn't do anything if we take a bath in the bouillon where he marinates. Besides swearing, of course.
Traitor!
Outside of the Elder's cave, we see no crows. Apparently Warador has some better things to do. Yet we see the brown noise guys outside of any walls for the first time, which is peculiar. I always thought they wore one more introverted side. Near the Pillars of Nosgoth, 3 giant diabloids met us with the clear intent of our decapitation. And who thought it was a great idea to put 3 of them in one place? I haven't said that before, but these bastards are tough. They have spammable attacks which deal preposterous amounts of damage. Add to that the not less spammable range attacks. If Reaver wasn't an OP weapon it is, one could have a really fucking bad and boring time here. Thanks God the blade is OP though. After marveling at the beauty of the pillars, we avoid some more unnecessary violence and get to the only place in the game, besides the Fireforge door, where the Fire Reaver has a utility. I like the fact that the lightning and gamma of the Seraphim Keep in this time looks identical to how it was shown in the first Blood Omen. For many Blood Omen fans, it would be a dream to walk inside of that iconic cutscene, I presume. For yours truly as well. Upon unaliving a few more caged soldiers, we happen to get into the room with the stolen Reaver. And hope you're ready for another evil monologue.
Suddenly and inexplicably, I discovered the Reaver suspiciously laid across my path. Again, I sensed nothing of that temporal distortion, the peculiar sense of displacement I had felt when I encountered the Reaver in William's chapel. Cornered here with the blade, I suffered the same nameless dread that I had experienced when Janos first presented the Reaver to me. I felt at once repelled by the blade, and yet overwhelmingly compelled to seize it.
So, Raziel, here we are finally. You have no choice but to confront me now, and I am not so foolish as I've let you believe. We have business to conclude.
You knew I would lead the Seraphim to Janos, you vile bastard. You've been orchestrating my every move. My destiny is an amusement to you.
It was fun while it lasted. I think not, Raziel. Malik, do not let this creature leave. He poses a danger to the Circle. Poor, deluded Raziel. Did you somehow imagine you had the guile to change history on me? I'm the Time Streamer. I knew your every intention before you did, you imbecile.
Call your dogs! They can feast on your corpses!
Lord Mobius, there is trouble within. The Circle is under
Hold
attack.
fast, Malik. This one is the real danger to us.
What are you trying to concoct here, Mobius?
You toxic creature. Did you imagine I'd simply allow you to run loose, corrupting everything you encounter?
I admit that I've underestimated you to this point, Mobius. But it's a mistake I won't repeat.
Wrong again, Raziel. Now, Malik, bolt the door.
Using his staff to disable my Wraithblade, Mobius effectively disarmed me, leaving me with only one choice of weapon. And yet I confess, it was not the lack of options, but blind rage that made me take up the Reaver. In my fury, it felt as though my hand had acted of its own will. And now, that same hand clutched the hilt with unyielding strength, and I felt a constrained tingling, a remote but palpable sense of longing, as the disabled Wraithblade tried vainly to embrace its physical twin.
Yep, you guessed that right. We got inside at the exact same time when Warador enacted his attack on the Circle. And now we know that he did it not for fun, although it looks like he's having a great time, but rather as vendetta for massacring his master. Kinda sad, really. What's not sad is the unification of Raziel and the Reaver. In fact, they like each other so much that if you try to drop the blade, following happens.
Now that I had taken it up, the Reaver and I were inescapably joined. The harder I tried to release the blade, the more tightly my hand gripped the hilt, as if possessed of its own will.
Neat.
Come to take your revenge, demon?
Back to hell with you!
I recognize these two as my former brethren, in life as Sarafan, and in unlife as Kain's vampire sons. Melchiah and Zephon, the weakest of Kain's brood. These bastards had no idea what future lay in store for them, how they would become the very thing they so despised. The Reaver hummed with ravenous anticipation. Janos had called it a vampiric blade, endowed with the power to drain its victims of their lifeblood. I was eager to see what the Reaver would do to these two.
It's kinda even scary to see Raziel in such a state of literal bloodthirst. I can feel a flicker of nostalgia for his vampire days in his voice. It's even scarier because of the fact that he is not hesitant to put his sword to use, especially considering that our race was kinda warmed toward Melchiah in the decaying future of Nosgoth. Upper right link where I talk about Melchiah's encounter. The boss fight, if you can call it that, is pretty dull. The future lieutenants of Kain have a few new animations and are much faster, which precisely destroys the already questionable fighting system. You see, the game contradicts itself in the terms of combat. If you lock onto the target, Raziel can use either heavy or light attacks. It works already only halfway because of the questionable hitboxes, yet here it's getting even more exaggerated by the even more fast and spammable movement of Melchiah and Zephon. The only possible way of overcoming this is to run with no autolock and spam the running thrust attack, which is the fastest one, thus turning this epic battle into fucking running circus. The other thing is that the blade made Raziel invincible, which destroys any type of challenge this encounter would have possessed, but you had to hear it just about right now.
As Melchiah and Zephon fell before my blade, I felt the Reaver's bloodthirst as keenly as I ever had when I was still a vampire. I could sense the boundary between us dissolving. The Reaver was consumed with my rage, and I was intoxicated by its bloodlust. The blade had a vitalizing effect on me. My physical energy no longer decayed over time, and the wounds inflicted by my foes healed almost instantly. The Reaver had made me invincible.
Yeah, I suppose the devs had to make Raziel invincible because otherwise these guys would just demolish any player. So either this or the remaking of the whole fighting system. And this happens if you try to go into the spectral realm.
The Reaver exerted some mysterious power over me. It sustained my energy, enabling me to prolong my physical manifestation indefinitely. In fact, bonded to the blade as I was, I could no longer shift into the spirit realm at will. Nor was I able to summon the Reaver's twin, for my Wraith Blade had been disabled in the confrontation with Mobius.
I love that the devs thought about it as well and not just made the button not interactable.
Have you come to reclaim the monster's black heart?
You'll have to get through us first.
My former brethren, Duma and Rahab, confronted me next. This all seemed so elegantly choreographed. Exhilarated by the Reaver, I was drunk with revelations. I could finally appreciate the delicious irony of Kain's blasphemous private joke, and I reveled as I colluded with him across the centuries. For it was I who put these bastards in their tomb, thus providing the corpses for Kain to raise as his vampire sons a millennium from now.
I'm curious if Kain would appreciate Raziel's approval of his very niche meme. The fight with other brothers is as dull as it was with the first ones, yet I like the fact that, unlike any other NPCs, these ones are not in a hurry. Looks very dope. The oldest after Raziel's sibling Tyrell was left for desert. I think the authors knew the calamity his absence in the first game made, so this encounter had to be made personal. And it was.
Get back to the pit you crawled from, demon.
And here at last was my brother Tyrell, who along with Duma would bear me into the abyss without questioning Kain's command. So dutiful and righteous, even as a vampire. I guess some habits die hard. The vampire Tyrell had eluded my vengeance. The Sarafan Tyrell would not.
After yet another fratricide, we go to meet ourselves, and damn, that's an interesting scene to see.
So, vampire, here we are. You've destroyed my brethren, and now you've come for me. You'll find I'm not such easy prey. I don't want to kill you, but I will if I must. Return the heart to me, and we can end this now. So, you've come to avenge that filthy parasite and reclaim his foul heart. You're a righteous fiend, aren't you? Apparently I am. No, vampire. This is where it ends, but you won't be leaving this room. Now, let's finish this. I'll make it mercifully quick. As you did for Janos? No, that beast had eluded us for far too long. It would have been a shame to end him too quickly. It's ironic, really. The great Janos Ordrin turned out to be no challenge at all. Thanks to you. Did you hear his cowardly screams when I tore that black heart out of his carcass?
I freaking love that even with how high the stakes are and how serious the situation is, the irony of what's going on doesn't elude Razi. The apparently I am is just hilarious. I also like that Razi bolts into the fight really fast, with no "you'll pay for this" or such bullshit. The white Caucasian Raziel went too far, and for that he will pay with his blood. The final battle of the game is plagued by the same problems that I've already described. And although even more animations were added, the Caucasian Razi is too fast to try to fight him in the intended lock-in mode. So the fight transformed into a travesty really fast. And now here is the final scene, so I'll let you enjoy it quietly.
I renounce you. And so it ends. My history comes full circle. Sensing its twin, the Wraithblade uncoiled itself from me, and instead wound lovingly around its former self. I felt its grip loosen, and as the blade left me, its absence chilled me more than its presence ever had. A foreboding sense of emptiness and loss stole over me, and a terrible revelation gathered like a storm at the edge of my awareness. With all other foes exhausted, the conjoined blades turned themselves on me, and I realized, finally, why I had sensed nothing when Janos offered me the blade. The Reaver was never forged to be a soul-stealing weapon. The ravenous, soul-devouring entity trapped in the blade was, and always had been, me. This is why the blade was destroyed when Kain tried to strike me down. The Reaver could not devour its own soul. The paradox shattered the blade. So, this was my terrible destiny. To play out this purgatorial cycle for all eternity. I could not bear it. Despair overwhelmed me. You. Are you enjoying this, Kain? Don't fight it, Raziel. Give into it. Was this your destiny for me all along? Trust me. I felt myself weakening, unable to hold on any longer. The Reaver was too strong. The compulsion to simply let go, too great. And then, a growing sense of vertigo and the familiar displacement. The paradoxical moment when my twin soul hovered both outside and inside the Reaver blade. This was the instant, the glimmer of temporal distortion Kain had been counting on all along. This was the edge of the coin, the minute flicker of probability upon which Kain had gambled everything. Now you are free to reclaim your true destiny, Raziel. Behind Kain's eyes, I could see new memories blooming and dying as history labored to reshuffle itself around this monumental obstruction. And I could see by the dawning horror on his face that perhaps we had strained history too far this time. That by trying to alter my fate, he may have introduced a fatal paradox. My God, the Hilden! We walked right into their trap. Raziel, Janos must stay dead. But Kain's warning was lost as I slipped into the spirit realm, too weak to maintain my physical form. And there, waiting for me as always, was the Reaver, the Wraithblade, my own soul, twinned and bound eternally to me. And I realized that I could never escape my terrible destiny. I had merely postponed it. History abhors a paradox.
Bravo! What a great story. So what has just happened? For that, in a very Legacy of Kain-like fashion, we need to go back in time. What the fuck is a Soul Reaver, you might ask? Well, it's the name of the game and actually the main protagonist of it. And it's indeed true. The Soul Reaver was being the protagonist of the games this whole time. To understand that, however, we also need to understand the time theory on which Legacy of Kain is built. The Novikov self-consistency principle means that if history is changed, it's indeed changed. So in the realm of Nosgoth, the Wraith Raziel has always existed and always killed his former self. That's important to keep in mind. In the first existing timeline, Raziel waxed the old Kain near the time of William. That's also important to keep in mind. So firstly, the blade was forged by Wardor, enchanted by Janos, then stolen by the young Raziel, then Wraith Razi kills the young Razi, and then the blade devours the soul of Raziel. Kain is dead and can't help Thus the sword transforms from the Blood Reaver into the Soul Reaver. Then this Reaver is given to William, another one from another time is taken by the fledgling Kain, and we have this celebration going for eternity. In the timeline of Soul Reaver 2 though, Raziel never killed Kain, thus allowing himself to be saved and opening the timeline for the next 2 Legacy of Kain games. Yet it's neither the place nor time to talk about them. If we would talk about the game itself, it is certainly a game. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it and it has many bright sides, but it became irreversibly old. The good sides of the game are, firstly, the reduction of unnecessary parts from Soul Reaver 1, unnecessary magic was cut out, although in this game it could have found much more use. The cubicle fucking riddles are gone. The forges became a much better alternative. And this dumb fucking talent we got from Duma is also no more. The only talent of all brother that haven't made it into the game, by the way. The sound design is still great, the music is great, the fighting system can be a little bit fun at the beginning. And of course, the cutscenes between the gameplay is an embodiment of theatrical catharsis. The problem is that the parts between those cutscenes became very fucking dull with time. And we lost the decadent post-apocalyptic setting of the first game, though I do understand that we can't use it here because of the story. All in all, my verdict is the same as it was with the first Soul Reaver. Buy this game somewhere, give the devs a few bucks and just enjoy the cutscenes on YouTube. I do agree that this game would shine so bright, only if the gameplay in between the scenes would be made more engaging, and not in a AAA generic sense of word modern. These games are in a dire need of a remake, and hope this video could make a tiny contribution into seeing it someday. Thank you guys for watching this video series. I hope you had some fun, and if you did, I'd urge you to stay for one more minute. I want to be a little more honest right now and ask for a small favor. Those videos are fucking hard and tedious to make, and as far as you can see, they aren't really steering the YouTube part, to say the least. I know that most of you who came to this channel are here because of the Legacy of Kain content, yet I want to go on a small hiatus regarding it. I will eventually come back to this theme because the story is still not completely told and one needs to finish his work. The only thing I'd like to ask of you is to check on the non-Legacy of Kain related videos from the past, and those which will come in the future eventually. You don't even need to watch them if you don't want to, just leave a like and put it somewhere in the background without sound. This would help me tremendously in growing the channel and bringing the Raziel and Kain story to a bigger audience. I also plan to grow in the field of video making, so Legacy of Kain community could have another strong representative. One more time, if you enjoyed the vids, I would appreciate your help. Thank you very much for tuning in right now and stay tuned in the future, because there is much more to come. I love you guys. For real. Have a good one.